Alan.
Should I restart?
No, you're good. You can keep going, President.
Okay. Kuyanamik to the Honorable Marian Montsev. Nice to see you. Minister of Women and Gender Equality, and thank you for the laugh I just had. Nice to see you. The Honorable Carolyn Bennett, Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations. The Honorable Dan Van Dil, Minister of Northern Affairs Canada. The Honorable Mona Fortier, Associate Minister of Finance and the Member of Parliament for Ottawa Vanier, where the largest population of Inuit in the South live. Member of Parliament Pam Dam Paf, Parliament Secretary to the Minister of Indigenous Services Canada. Also joining us today is also Larry Bagno, Member of Parliament. Dr. Evan Adams, Deputy Chief Medical Officer for Health for the First Nations and Inuit Health Branch at the Indigenous Services Canada. And from the front lines of the community healthcare for Inuit in Ottawa, Ms. Connie C. Duell, Executive Director for Akausivik Inuit Family Health Center. Also, I'd like to welcome Annie Buscemi, who was the recipient of Pauktuutit Young Inuit Woman of the Year Award for 2021 and is joining us today from her hometown of Iqaluit, Tunga Sugid Annie. Finally, thank you for the reporters who have joined us. I respectfully ask all our speakers to keep their remarks to 2 minutes each so we can answer questions from reporters in the short time we have today. To the reporters, if you would like to ask a question, please type your name and organization in the chat function. We will call you in the order your name appear in the chat function. Today marks the midway point in Pauktuutit's public awareness campaign to help keep Inuit women and families safe from COVID-19 virus. This campaign has especially focused on increasing awareness about the safety and efficacy of the COVID-19 vaccines approved for use in Canada. In recent months, Pauktuutit has run ads in newspapers from across Inuit Nunangat, distributed public health announcements to cable television and radio. We have also distributed some 5,000 masks to help to health clinics across Inuit Nunangat and to Inuit partners in urban centers like the Akausivik. Today, Pauktuutit begins its social media campaign to reach Inuit youth, some of whom are now eligible to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. This campaign features video messages from strong young Inuit women like Annie Buscemi. I will leave it to the public health experts with us today to speak in detail about why Inuit have been prioritized to receive the vaccine in Inuit Nunangat and in cities. However, I would like to end on 2 points. First, the vulnerability of Inuit in cities to serious illnesses and even death from COVID-19 is illustrated by the tragic passing of Silatik Kavik of Sanikilok Nunavut. Silatik was 35 years old when she traveled to Winnipeg last November to deliver her newborn daughter. Tragically, Silatik died in January from complications of COVID-19, leaving her 5 young children without a mother. We acknowledge her and offer strength for her family. I will now light a candle with a moment of silence for their safekeeping as their children grow with good memories of their mother. We'll have a moment of silence. Second, I would like to express my appreciation to all those who work tirelessly to develop, approve, distribute, and deliver the Moderna vaccine into arms in remote Inuit communities like Baker Lake. In Baker Lake, we have a small health clinic, and overcrowded housing is a chronic problem. I am very happy to share that I have received 2 doses of the vaccine, as have most members of my community. I would like to ask Minister Montsev, who has listened to the voices of Inuit women during the pandemic and always worked respectfully and collaboratively with Pauktuutit since her appointment to the wage portfolio in 2017, to say a few words. Minister Montsev, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, President Kudlu. Hello, colleagues. Bonjour, Anin, Salam Alaikum. I join you from my basement in Peterborough, Kawartha on Mississauga territory, and I have to say I'm overwhelmed. I'm fangirling a little bit. I look at my screen and I see the one and only Annie Buscemi. I see Larry Bagnall, Pam Damoff, Dan Vandal, Carolyn Bennett, who's taught me so much about reconciliation, and our Associate Finance Minister, Mona Fortier. I see Connie Sidule, and Rebecca. It's always a privilege to be part of any conversation with you. You have been a strong leader since I've met you, and I'm grateful that we have an opportunity to continue to work together. Rebecca, you spoke about the loss and the challenges that have come our way during the pandemic, and I really appreciate you lighting that candle for the mom that we have all lost. This has been a year filled with a lot of loss, with a lot of sacrifice, and the silver lining in it has been our partnerships. And had it not been for our ongoing conversations with you, with leaders in the Inuit Nunungat, and as well as Inuit living in urban centers, I think that we would all be worse off. I want to thank you for your leadership, Rebecca. And when your team approached mine and talked to us about doing 2 things at once, addressing vaccine hesitancy, ensuring that people are practicing good public health guidance, and showcasing the strength of strong Inuk women and leaders, we were in. And I appreciate the opportunity to partner with you. The whole government of Canada appreciates the opportunity. The investment of $340,000 towards this very important communication campaign is a wise one. Rebecca, I look forward to continuing our partnership, and I want to give a huge thanks to everybody on the front lines, as Rebecca said, getting those vaccines into arms, keeping people safe. We know that violence has gone up too. There's $100 million feminist response and recovery fund on the table right now. We're accepting applications until the 25th. If you have ideas on how to keep your community safer, improve women's safety and non-binary folks, and improve their workforce participation, we want to hear from you. Rebecca and the team at Pauktuutit, thank you for being such incredible partners.
I think
Good morning, everyone.
Danielle, yeah.
If I may too, now this is the part that I'm gonna fangirl a little bit, so I'm already a little nervous. Bear with me, Annie. We now get to hear from one of those incredible young leaders. Annie Buscemi is an Inuk social media influencer and advocate for Inuit mental health. She was named the inaugural woman and the winner of the Young Inuk Woman of the Year, presented for the first time in a category for those aged 16 to 35. She's an apprentice electrician who has been off work due to a misdiagnosed hand injury, which left her struggling with anxiety. In October 2020, she began posting on her accounts a video a day, which gives one Inuit specific reason to stay alive. Inuit specific reasons to stay alive today quickly grew, earning her more than 10,300 followers on TikTok alone. Buscemi's engaging and encouraging manner incorporates aspects of Inuit culture into her daily affirmations. She credits her followers with keeping her going, and clearly the support is mutual. She receives daily messages on her Instagram account, which already has more than 600 followers. People from across Canada and the USA are thanking her for doing this important work. So are we, Annie. The Government of Canada is proud of you, and we'd love to hear more from you today.
Good, everyone. Thank you so much. Good morning. I want to start off by saying Nakumik. Thank you so much, President Carlo and Pauktuutit, for inviting me to be part of this vaccine awareness campaign. And thank you to Minister Monsef for introducing me with such kind words. It means a lot to me. Thank you. Back in January, I felt very humbled to have been recognized by Pauktuutit for the messages that I post on social media for Inuit youth to be proud of our culture and to keep mentally healthy. Today, I feel hopeful that there is now also a way for Inuit youth to be proud of our culture and to keep physically healthy too. That way is by getting the COVID-19 vaccine when it becomes available to you. Knowing that so many Inuit have a chance to get the COVID-19 vaccine makes me feel so grateful that by getting the vaccine, we can protect ourselves, protect our elders, and protect our whole community. I especially want to encourage Inuit youth to get the vaccine and feel proud that we are doing our part to help everyone get through the pandemic. So from my community to yours, here's a little clip about hope, health, and supporting each other to get through the pandemic.
Hi, my name is Annie Buscemi, and I'm an advocate for Inuit mental health and currently an apprentice electrician here in Iharu, Nunavut. Although I have not received the COVID-19 vaccine yet, I plan on receiving it when it becomes available to me because I believe that it will tremendously help us protect our communities, our elders, and ourselves. Will you be getting the vaccine with me? Stay safe, stay protected. Although this is such a scary time, I believe that if we stick together, we will be okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Monsef and Annie. The video is fantastic. We're so proud of you, Annie. Now I'd like to ask Minister Bennett to say a few words. You have 2 minutes, Minister Bennett.
Ulukut, hello, bonjour. I'm joining you from the traditional territory of the Mississaugas with the credit, and where we honor all the Indigenous peoples who paddled these waters and whose moccasins walk these lands. Kuyanamik President Kudlu for welcoming me and all of our colleagues here today, but it was so important for us to share with you as you lit the candle in the moment of silence in memory of Silitik Kavik. And Nakamik Annie, thank you for supporting mental health, sharing Inuit culture, and spreading hope and health to all Canadians through your videos. Both of you exemplify what it means to be strong, resilient Inuit women. You are leaders, like so many more Inuit women in all 4 regions of the Inuit Nunavut and across Canada. While the COVID-19 pandemic has magnified the inequalities and threats to health and safety of Indigenous women and girls and two-spirited and gender diverse people and families, Inuit women continue to be the decision makers and facilitators of their families' wellness and health care. The Government of Canada is so proud to be a partner with you in advocating for you and your family's health. We know that Inuit populations have been particularly affected by the effects of the pandemic because of limited access to healthcare and the socioeconomic factors. And it's why, as you've said, that the government has prioritized Inuit communities in the rollout of COVID-19 vaccine. And we are so grateful for this campaign that you have organized, and also, of course, the inspiration of Annie. We recognize the role of Inuit women on the front lines of combating COVID and keeping their families and communities safe. You continue to dedicate yourselves to keeping the community safe through testing and contact tracing and providing care in Inuit communities. And your work is so important as we race to vaccinate as many people as possible to stop the spread of the virus as the trusted health providers, but always the healthcare guardians for your families as you look after your children and your elders, book their appointments, and make sure that they're staying safe. I think today we also want to recognize Civic Inuit Family Health Team in Ottawa, who are keeping people safe and healthy. And we were so happy to see that they're delivering the vaccine to our national treasure, Mary Simon. Before closing, just want to acknowledge Pauktuutik's ongoing work and contribution towards creating the Inuit-specific component of the National Action Plan to address missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls and Two-Spirit and gender diverse people. The work is invaluable. The leadership is absolutely key to producing the tangible results for women and children in your communities. So finally, I just want to thank Pauktuutik for your ongoing leadership. Your awareness campaign will no doubt help Inuit women continue to protect their families and lead the way through the pandemic. Kuyanamik, Nakamik, thank you, merci.
Thank you, Minister Bennett. Minister Vandel, who I have given a new title to, Minister responsible for new shelters for Inuit women in the North, since you were a big support to us when we were advocating for shelters. We'll now say a few words. Minister Vandel.
Myself. There we go. Hello, bonjour, udlakut. I want to begin by acknowledging that I'm speaking to you from my office here in St. Boniface, St. Vital in the city of Winnipeg, Treaty 1 territory, homeland of the Métis Nation, and a city that is now home to many Inuit. Thank you, President Kudlow, for bringing us together today, and congratulations, Annie Buscemi, on your well-deserved title as Young Inuk Woman of the Year. The COVID-19 pandemic has been difficult for many and has exacerbated many long-standing inequalities between the North and the South. In particular, it's put a strain on many Inuit women and families, notably with regards to food security. To help alleviate that pressure, our government has provided several supports. On March 11th of this year, our government announced $8 million in funding for essential food security relief programs in the 4 Inuit regions. The funds will support activities such as virtual nutrition education programs, food voucher programs, meal delivery programs, breakfast programs, and harvesters programs. And in April of last year, our government also made available an additional $25 million to Nutrition North Canada to increase the subsidy rates for food and essential items to all 116 northern communities. We also added many additional items such as hand sanitizer. In addition, we introduced the Harvester Support Grant, which was co-developed in collaboration with Inuit partners to improve access to traditional foods. I want to thank Pauktuutit Inuit Women of Canada for their continued advocacy, collaboration, and partnership, especially through this very difficult pandemic. Your new campaign reflects our efforts, our collective efforts to vaccinate people in Inuit Nunangat and the North. This is much to be celebrated. Just this week, Iqaluit launched its mass vaccinations, meaning every adult over the age of 18 in the territories is now eligible to receive a vaccine. less than 4 months after the first doses arrived in Canada. This is a remarkable achievement and the result of continued hard work, partnership, and collaboration. We still have a lot of work to do ahead of us in the coming months, but by working together, we will continue to support Inuit families and women on all fronts, from health to food security, to build a safe, healthy, and thriving communities in the North. Kuyanamik, thank you, et merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Minister Vandal. Next, we have Minister Fortier, who also has a new title, Minister responsible for the new Inuit shelter for women, Inuit women in Ottawa. Minister Fortier, your comments?
Thank you very much. Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning. Ulakut. I'm proud to represent Ottawa Vanier, which sits on the traditional territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. And I want to take a moment to recognize you, President Kudlu, for your amazing leadership and inviting us here today. And I want to extend a sincere thank you, of course, to you and your many colleagues across the country for the important work you do to support Inuit women in our communities every day. And also thank you, Nakomik Annie, for your strong leadership and advocacy in mental health. I was truly moved by your message today. And also recognize and thank my friends and colleagues, Dan, Caroline, Miriam, Larry, and Pam for being here today for this event. Notre gouvernement s'est engagé à continuer de soutenir les communautés des Premières Nations, des Inuits et des Métis pendant cette crise sans précédent. Ottawa's vibrant Inuit community has demonstrated how effective and collaborative the vaccine rollout can be. We have seen amazing success stories from the Wabano Center Urban Indigenous COVID-19 Vaccine Clinic. The funding highlighted this morning further supports in this incredibly important initiative here in Ottawa to ensure Indigenous communities and elders are aware of and have access to vaccines. We know the pandemic has affected certain communities more than others, including Inuit, Métis, and First Nations women who experience a disproportionately high rate of displacement and family trauma during this pandemic. In January, we committed to fund the construction and operation of shelters across Inuit Nuengat and in our urban centers for Inuit women and their children. These shelters will provide services and resources for women and their children to recover and help them take steps to regain an independent and self-determined life. And I'm very happy that one of these shelters will also be located in our community of Ottawa Vanier. As the pandemic continues to unfold, I want to reiterate that we will continue to work for First Nations, Inuit, and Métis communities and organizations and other partners to identify and respond to the unique needs that Indigenous peoples face. We have your back. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Fortier. Next, we have Member of Parliament, Pam Danoff. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for hello, bonjour, ulakut. I want to start by acknowledging I'm speaking to you from the traditional territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation in my community of Oakville, North Burlington. And I want to thank you, President Kudlu. Annie, you are so amazing. And I didn't know until today you're an apprentice electrician. So not only are you a leader in educating people about mental health, but you're also groundbreaking in bringing more women into the skilled trades. It's just incredible. Thanks to the ministers who've already spoken, Minister Monsef, Minister Vandal, Minister Bennett, and Minister Fortier. And I also want to give a shout out to my colleague, MP Larry Bagnell. Thank you to all the community healthcare workers for their ongoing dedication to protect Inuit communities during COVID-19. This pandemic has exposed widening gaps and vulnerabilities faced by Inuit communities in the North and in urban settings. From housing to healthcare and food, Pauktuutit and other Inuit organizations advocated for access to vital services and resources, and I'm immensely grateful for our partnership. Through the Indigenous Community Support Fund, $90 million in funding has been directly distributed to Inuit regions by the 4 regional Inuit land claims organizations to prevent, prepare, and respond to COVID-19. An additional $1.7 million was provided to support urban Inuit organizations. We recognize that Inuit women and children face heightened challenges when seeking refuge from domestic violence and abuse. When I was vice chair of the Status of Women Committee in the last Parliament, you appeared as a witness to speak to the urgent need for these investments. As part of the COVID-19 Economic Response Plan, the government has allocated $10 million to the network of 46 emergency shelters that Indigenous Services Canada supports annually through the Family Violence Prevention Program. In addition, the Government of Canada announced just under $45 million over 5 years to build 12 new shelters, 10 in First Nations communities across the country and 2 in the territories. Pauktuutit has called for the construction of 5 new emergency shelters in Inuit Nunagat and Ottawa, and with your leadership, we have responded to the call and have committed to providing shelters for Inuit women and children. These new shelters will be part of the $724 million allocated to launch a comprehensive violence prevention strategy. The Government of Canada and CMHC will continue to work with Pauktuutit and other Inuit partners on these essential projects. On behalf of Minister Mark Miller and myself, I'd like to thank you for the work you've done to improve the lives and increase the safety of Inuit women and children, and we look forward to continuing our work together. Hyuknanamik, thank you, merci beaucoup.
Koyanamik, Ms. Dunoff. Now we have Dr. Adams, who will provide a brief overview of how vaccination for Inuit is going in Inuit Nunagat and in the South. Dr. Adams, your comments? Can't hear you.
You're on mute.
Thank you very much. Ajishwit, my name is Dr. Evan Adams. I'm from Tla'amin Nation, which is a First Nation on the west coast of British Columbia, about 200 kilometers from Vancouver. And I'm the Deputy Chief Medical Officer at First Nations and Inuit Health Branch headquarters in Ottawa. And it is a pleasure to be here and to play a small role in this very important work. So our ability to track Indigenous, First Nations, Inuit, and Métis COVID cases in Canada, particularly in the north, is better than ever, but there is still work for us to do. Very important for us to be able to work with communities who are stewards of their own people and their own lands, and of course, thus their own processes and their own data. So we are making commitments going forward to try and have a better picture of Inuit COVID and health outcomes, and of course, vaccinations going forward. The number of First Nations people in the South who have started vaccinations is now well over 400 communities. And for this, we're very excited. The federal government and the National Advisory Committee on Immunizations has been working very hard in their recommendations to make sure that Indigenous people who are at greater risk for COVID, part because of our increased incidence and prevalence of COVID, but also in part because of our geographic risk in the north. Perhaps there is it is more difficult to access health services than in the south. But many of our communities have done very well in the north, taken a lot of protective measures to make sure that there is less importation and that there is less spread should a cluster or an outbreak occur. Very early on, Inuit populations were seen as a priority population in need of protection. And our work in this area, I think, has been exemplary. I know there was some concerns from community members initially. Why was there a focus to protect Indigenous populations, to put them first, when sometimes in the past we were not given as Indigenous people enough of a priority? A lot of the work has been to try and have populations see that our intentions were good, that we were not trying to do bad things by giving vaccinations, but to help and support populations. We continue our work to answer questions from those who may be hesitating. I understand that sometimes some people don't have the best relationship with research or with the medical system, where they've had difficult, painful experiences in the past. Try and spend time reminding them that medicine has not been only bad experiences, that there are some very good things about support from medical personnel. Perhaps some of us here, some of the Indigenous people here, have benefited from the work of a medical ally, someone in the system and on our side. And that is certainly the case here. So let's continue to collaborate. These are our bodies, our elders, our minds and spirits, our communities, and we have a say. And the federal family and the territorial governments are meant to be wonderful partners and collaborators in this huge initiative. It's been very important for us to monitor any adverse events that are happening around immunizations. There are some side effects. The vast majority of them are mild side effects that are to be expected around vaccination. And significant injury or adverse events like anaphylaxis are still extremely rare. I just want to assure everyone that our safety monitoring this particular vaccine around the world is unprecedented nationally. And I think that that scrutiny by us, by this call, very good thing, and we will. We are very lucky that there are more and more and more vaccine arriving, and we are adjusting everywhere, including in the north, to the new math, that there is more vaccine than we had planned for in December, and that is mildly altering for the better how delivery is occurring. So thank you to all the teams who are on the ground. Thank you to all of the advocates, including here, who are helping to reassure the public, who are helping to answer questions around vaccine, and who are speaking to those who still have questions and recommendations. We're very excited to be of support to communities. We're very happy to be of support to knowledge keepers, be of service to those who are most vulnerable. Thank you, Inuit.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. It's so nice to meet you, even if it's just through video. I've seen you on TV. Nice to meet you. Now we'll hear from Connie C. Dool, who will provide a snapshot of how vaccination for Inuit living in Ottawa is going, and why the work of the Urban Inuit Health Clinic she leads is critical. Ms. Sidhu?
Kuyanimik, Rebecca. Ulaku kanio yunga akasiviki Inuit Family Health Team mingaktunga. Kuvyasukak digit ikanek pagut ulumi. Hi, I'm Connie Sidhu with the Akasiviki Inuit Family Health Team in Ottawa. Thanks for the opportunity to address everyone today. I do have a slide deck to share, so you don't have to just look at me because I'm a little bit sleep deprived. And so it's probably easier on the eyes if you look at the slides. So I'll take you through a brief snapshot of our experience. It's just a rolling sort of, there are some photos of our vaccination clinic activities. Prioritization is a question. Eligibility criteria is moving around on us all the time, and why this question of why Inuits, even when disaggregated from First Nations Métis, why are we prioritized within this phase 1 rollout? Inuit life expectancy, as may be known, is anywhere from 10 to 17 years less or more than the mainstream population, and the gap is not getting any better. It does seem to be widening. Tuberculosis and lower respiratory tract infection rates for Inuit are amongst the highest anywhere, even when compared with the highest rates globally. What faces us each day, and what we're experiencing each day, even outside of pandemic times, are population health disparities, risks of very rapid transmission for any communicable disease, rapid decline, complications, and mortality. The decompensation and mortality is akin for Inuit with what is normally seen in a much older population cohort, like in a much older group. How to deliver culturally safe and patient care safe vaccination simultaneously is also a lot of work. It's intensely, constantly, and conscientiously every day we have to work at this and respond to the changes faced in front of us and what is walking through the door. We've been front-facing, Akasavik's been front-facing in person each day throughout the pandemic to meet the urgent needs walking through and urgent Inuit needs presenting us. We are removing barriers to access in a number of ways. There's proactive outreach, so we will call. We are also picking up the phone as fast as we can. Word of mouth, providing a space, transportation, and supports and time to do what is needed, anything that is needed to remove the barrier. In terms of addressing patient care safety in a very real way, needs, we have post-vaccine follow-up calls, 72-hour checkups and check-ins after vaccination. And this, as you can imagine, this is a huge piece of work as our vaccination delivery grows. We have primary care on site, MDs, RNs, Inuktitut case managers, and care navigators to deal with individual health concerns, both before they show up for their appointment as we review the consent form, and then again once somebody comes in person. And we picked up a number of things that aren't necessarily picked up virtually when the person shows up. We're maintaining our emergency response and rollout processes to monitor how things are going and again to adapt to the changing conditions that we're facing. The goal of all this is to help protect and safeguard as many Inuit as we can as possible. We surpassed 1,000 doses administered last week. We are trucking right along this week. Feedback that's been received so far includes relief. A lot of people are expressing quite a bit of relief. So that helps with some of the mental health pressures with isolation and the fluctuations that we're seeing in the positivity rates. Reunions, we've had people who haven't seen each other for a very long time that just happened to have their appointments at the same time, and it was a big, old home week. So then they were so happy to see each other. The post-vaccination room area is actually quite a social place now. It's a very cheerful floor, both for those who are working on that floor as well as those who are coming in to receive their shot. I have not actually experienced so many Inuit so happy to receive a shot before. Like, this has not actually happened before. so there is, hope and recovery in sight, and I think that it's very helpful, and we're so glad to be able to be doing this piece and meeting this milestone at this time. Demakai, kuyan me.
You're on mute, Rebecca.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Ms. Sidhu. I was saying, now I have a daughter living in Ottawa, and she was so glad to get her vaccine. Now I'll ask Susan King to moderate the questions from the reporters.
Thanks to all the journalists who have joined us today. If you can put your name and your organization in the media chat, we'll take your questions in that order. And if I can ask, please, that you identify the individual you'd like to answer your questions, and if you can limit your questions to two, that will help us ensure that everyone has an opportunity to ask questions. Are there any questions? Okay, so we have Alex Googe from City News in Ottawa. Go ahead, please.
Hello. So my question is for Annie. How important? I know you kind of touched on this, but could you just reiterate the importance of getting Inuit youth vaccinated once the time comes?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like it is extremely important just to keep our community safe, our elders safe, and for Inuit youth to feel safe in our own communities as well too. I hope that answers it.
Perfect. That's my only question. So thank you.
If I could add also, in my region, the community that have been most affected in Akviat, where they have cases there. There's like lots of children there and youth. So I think it's important so they don't pass on the virus to others, that they get vaccinated.
Next, we have Emma Trenter from Canadian Press. Go ahead, Emma.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. I think my question is for Dr. Adams or maybe Connie Sidhu, but I'm wondering, is vaccine hesitancy an issue that could delay vaccine rollout in Inuit communities? Is that something that you've seen throughout this rollout?
I can offer an answer for that. So there have been some. It's actually partly been related to, everybody's been quite gracious and quite grateful to be in the phase 1 rollout. But I find there are a lot of community members that don't want to take, are not used to being in a prioritization category. So we do have to walk through that and reassure and support that, yes, Inuit, you as an Inuit community member, you deserve this vaccine, and come and get it if you want it. But we have also had quite a bit of good uptake. I think we will sort of in the coming weeks start getting to a little more vaccine hesitancy and have to work a bit harder at the vaccine confidence. So it's been a bit of a mix of that, and also what people are hearing in the media, because there are, again, a lot of questions as to why Inuit are prioritized, and everybody sees that. So that factors into it too.
Dr. Adams, do you want to add anything?
Thank you very much. You can hear me okay? Yes, we are hearing that in certain places the acceptance of the vaccine is surprisingly high, and then in other places that there is some hesitation even after the vaccine has been available a second time or even a third time. It's certainly our desire to hear from those individuals about what exactly their hesitancy is, and we're hearing a number of issues. Some as mundane as I felt a little tired after the first vaccine, and isn't that a bad thing? To quite odd beliefs like there is some experimentation happening on them, or that there are some really unsavory products within the vaccine, and then others who have concerns like what is the new hesitation around AstraZeneca happening in Europe? Is that something that we should be concerned about? And so each of those kinds of questions, and there are many others, each of those questions then requires a different kind of conversation. And so we're very interested in answering those questions, and particularly amongst those who are most vulnerable. Like, for instance, some elders can be a bit fearful about what will happen if they get the vaccine, or if there are large groups of young people who are subject to very odd media sources and then collectively saying, "Oh, this sounds a bit suspect." We would like to address those, but I think part of it is hearing from those who are hesitating and getting very specific about what is the issue that's making you afraid or hesitate.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Adams. Next, we have Melanie Richot from Nunatsiaq News. Melanie?
Hi, thank you, and good morning, everyone. My question is for Dr. Evan Adams, I believe. So you mentioned a commitment going forward to try to track COVID cases and vaccination rates more among Inuit. Can you kind of elaborate on what that would look like, what that would entail? Would that include the government of Nunavut to combine numbers? Yeah, so just about that process. Thank you.
Sure. I'm not involved in the everyday development of this work. I can only speak to it from a higher level from previous experiences, in that stewardship of data should be in the hands of Inuit people. It's their own stories, their own data about their own bodies and their own children, and so they should be able to lead. But collecting good public health data requires cooperation of a lot of different personnel, certainly tripartite personnel or territorial, federal, and Inuit personnel who might be working in different positions or levels of government. Most important amongst them, though, would be the relationship, that they trust each other. So if a data collector on the ground has certain data, that the others trust that that's good data, and that they're able to talk to each other, agree what the data means, and agree what to do because of the data. So it's not just about a data system where there are efficiencies, but about very high-level relationships of trust, so that being seen will be acted upon by all the parties. What we don't want to see is what can often exist is it's too difficult, and so none of the parties attack it, or one of the parties holds all the data and the power and authority, and the others don't have a say. So those are very evolving processes. They do take some time, unfortunately, and I know for many of us who want access to good public health data, like for it to have happened last week or maybe a year ago, but they're evolving very quickly, and I'm very hopeful, especially with ITK's firm leadership and goodwill. Yeah, I'm really.
Melanie, did you have follow-up?
Not right now, but I will let you know.
Okay.
Thanks.
And Connie, did you want to add anything from an urban perspective?
Sure. Yeah, in terms of positivity rates, we've seen a uptick in the last couple of weeks, is our experience here. And throughout the pandemic, we generally, throughout different periods of time, we're riding just a bit higher than the Ontario averages, although now we're riding quite a bit higher at the moment.
Thank you. Do any of the other reporters on the line have a question? Going once, going twice. Okay, well, you have our contact information. If we can help you.
Sorry, Susan. Brett has a question.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Brett.
Hello,
From
I
APTN.
wanted to ask.
Brett, I think we've lost your audio. Can anyone else hear Brett?
No, I believe he's dropped.
Okay. So Brett, if you can hear me, please send us an email or message us and we'll get you the answers that you'd like or get you in contact with the best person. Anyone else on the line? Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. Back to you, President Kudlow.
I just wanted to add that as Inuit, we have why some Inuit might be hesitant is the historic mistreatment that we received in when we had TB or in the past, even in the present day systemic racism that Inuit experience in the healthcare system. I think that might be the reason. Also, I had an experience when I went to the beginning of the pandemic, when I was so paranoid. I went to the store and people were distancing themselves. And I said to an elder friend of mine, you know, people are not distancing. And she said, don't be scared. God will help you. God will protect you. Yeah, God will protect me, but I have to protect myself. So those are things that why there might be hesitant to get the vaccine. So I would like to say thank you very much for joining us today and for the important work that you do each day to getting Inuit healthy during this pandemic.
And it's Susan. I do see APTN has their hand up, so if we can connect with them and let them ask their question, that would be terrific. APTN?
Hi, this is Amy Pashagamskam with APTN. Thanks for taking my question. There was some mention of the mistrust and talk going on around the AstraZeneca vaccine, saying that it had adverse effects. I'm wondering if maybe Dr. Adams could speak to that. Maybe what would you say to people who are concerned?
Yes, the AstraZeneca vaccine has not been used widespread yet in this country, and so we have very little data on adverse events affecting Canadians. The European data we're examining, it seems to be just a few deaths that occurred post-vaccination, but there's no causal link yet. So it's kind of like the old adage, man died 2 weeks after having vaccination, but he also ate pizza and spoke to his children. So is there an effect, a relationship, or a causal effect between those? And certainly those two deaths and one illness, severe reaction, are in keeping with health events that would have occurred without the vaccine being present. So, so in these situations, there were blood clots that happened in 3 people. Number of blood clots in those countries is not higher than expected. So, are those related to the vaccine? very concerned about vaccine safety, and we're being very, very careful, which is why few European countries have paused their rollout for a couple of weeks while they examine those events. But as I said, our look at the data thus far doesn't see a causal link. I think we should proceed with confidence unless we see otherwise. Those pauses are, I think, a normal part of being cautious and careful.
Okay. I'm conscious we've almost gone an hour. I see Melanie for Nunatsiaq News has one follow-up question, and if we can take that, and then I think we'll have to conclude for today. Melanie?
Yes, thank you. I'll apologize in advance if this is already said, but I know Inuit in Nunavut aren't getting the AstraZeneca vaccine. Can someone confirm whether that vaccine is being offered to Inuit in the South?
Yeah, I can take that one. So right now, the Pfizer vaccine is what we are administering and is available to us.
Thank you.
President Kudlow, did you have any final remarks?
Yes, thank you very much for your time. We're looking forward to working with you, and have a great day. Kuya Nami.